Dear learners, welcome to this new program. This is Jitendra Singh, Assistant Professor in Media and Communication Studies at Chaudhry Bansilal University, Haryana. So dear learners, you might be aware of the fact that we have started a new series on the topic new media, and today this is the third lecture, and in the previous two lectures or the previous two sessions we have so far covered the concept and development of new media, the newness in new media and the different attributes of new media technologies, and what are the important features that make it different from the traditional forms of mass media. And also in the previous session we talked about new media and journalism and the kind of impact it creates on the journalistic practices nowadays. So this is the third lecture today, and today we would be discussing about the web technology. So let's have a look at the important contents of this session. So in this session we would be discussing about the World Wide Web. So I would be giving you an overview what the World Wide Web is and how it evolved over the years. And certainly there are certain generations during the development of the internet, and those generations are characterized by certain features that make it different in every period of time. That is why we have divided these the development stage into three generations so far. So definitely we will be discussing about the different generations of the World Wide Web, and also how a website is being made, if you are asked to prepare a website. So I would be giving you an overview how to produce a website, how to create a website, how to design a website in a very short period, and then and with minimum resources also. So with minimum requirements, how can you produce a website? So we will be discussing about that also, and what are online portals, and how to create an online news portal, and of course the guidelines issued by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in the context of online news portals. So these are the important subtopics which we are going to discuss today. So let's begin the session. So my dear learners, I have observed that most of the people sometimes gets confused with two different things. One is internet and the World Wide Web, and they might appear like they are synonym to each other, but they are two different things, but they are related to each other, but still they are different things with different meanings. So how they are different? So let us understand first what is internet and what is World Wide Web and how they are different. So internet is simply a network of networks where millions of computers are globally connected, forming a network in which any computer can communicate with any other computer. So what is internet? Internet is simply a network of thousands of networks, millions of networks that is connected by a simple chain of networks, where anyone can communicate with, any computer can communicate with any remote computer which is at any corner of the world. So internet is simply a network of networks, whereas World Wide Web is a way of accessing information over the medium of the internet by displaying web pages on a browser. Information are connected by hyperlinks, and the information can be in the form of text, graphics, audio and video. So what is World Wide Web? When we say this word, it refers to the web or the consortium of different web pages collected together. So for the purpose of public information, which is displayed by a web browser through the help of the internet, and those web pages are connected by hyperlinks, and they can the information presented on those web pages is in the form of text or graphics or audio or video. So this is how internet and the web is two different things. They are two different technologies, but they are very much related to each other, because without them we cannot think of the present web. So let's move on, and so let's talk about what is the World Wide Web and how it evolved. So the genesis of the World Wide Web was first introduced in 1989 by Tim Berners-Lee, who was a British computer scientist, and his colleagues at CERN. CERN is an international scientific organization based in Geneva, Switzerland. So the World Wide Web as a concept was first produced by Tim Berners-Lee, who is a computer scientist, and his colleagues who used to work at CERN, and he projected this as a project and for the employees of the organization to communicate with the employees. So Tim Berners-Lee, who is considered as the father of the World Wide Web, introduced this as a project in 1989. He also created a protocol which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which could link different documents together using hyperlinks without the need for one to sign into multiple machines and learn to use new programs. So you might have, my dear learners, you might have heard about protocols. Protocols are a set of rules when you come across many times when you are using internet, whether you are downloading any information, whether you are uploading any information, or say for instance, there are different other examples like emailing is a very common practice on internet. So whenever you email, there comes a particular protocol which helps your mail delivered to the right address. So that is the post office protocol. So there are different hundreds of protocols which make the communication process easier. And this is how these are set of rules which are prepared to work on internet. So they created a kind of a particular hypertext protocol which links web pages, and with the help of this you don't need to sign into multiple machines, multiple accounts, and you don't even need to learn every time, you don't need to learn new programs. So with the help of this new protocol, the web pages can be linked together and they can be accessed at a particular host computer. So this is again a very important technology which they invented at CERN. And then hypertext again is when we talk about hypertext, it must be something different from the simple text or the plain text. So hypertext is actually the building block of HTML. So now what is HTML? You might be thinking about what HTML is. HTML is hypertext markup language, which is made up of basic tags of HTML, and this is a language which is used for coding or used for preparing web pages, and it is one of the simplest way to design a website and using this particular language, though there are certain applications also available where you just need to put your data and information, and there are templates available where you just have to put your data and your website is ready. So making website is not tough these days. It's as simple as creating a social media account. So Tim Berners-Lee also designed layout text content on the web page, and which now forms the basis of every website. As we have seen, most of the websites today are coded or written in different languages, but one of the important language is still the hypertext markup language, which is actually called the building block of the websites. So through HTTP, hypertext documents can be sent from one computer to another computer, and they can be interpreted by a browser which turns the HTML files into readable web pages. So what we have learned so far is there was a World Wide Web project, and there was a development of a hypertext transfer protocol which helps us to bring the web pages, which provides a hyperlink between web pages. And then there was a need to develop a browser also. So far there was no internet browser which could actually help to interpret the web pages or make them into readable web pages. So in the very next year, Tim Berners-Lee is again credited for giving us the first World Wide Web. But the first website, which I'm going to show you just right now. So the first the first kind of website was entirely text-based, and it actually required a text-based browser in order to view it correctly. And this is how Tim Berners-Lee recognized the need of developing a web browser, and they at CERN designed a browser which was given the name World Wide Web. And in 1990 they released it, and so they released the World Wide Web browser, which was the only way to view the young web, and it was a combination of browser editor allowing users to view other HTML documents and create their own. So this is how he released a web browser which allowed users to view HTML documents of their own, and they can create it. They can also create the others documents, and they can also view others document. And then this text-based browser was made available for general release in January 1992. So in another 2 years or 1.5 year, the same browser was made for public use also, so that public can use it. Till then, earlier these browsers were used by the employees who used to work at CERN, the scientists, the computer scientists, and the academic circles who could access and interact with their colleagues. So the World Wide Web was initially created as a platform to facilitate information exchange between users, who included scientists in universities and institutes around the world. So this is how the World Wide Web was imagined or even developed as to facilitate information exchange between academic circles and the scientists around the world. And this is how you could see on your screen, I suppose. This is the kind of the first, this was the example of the first World Wide Web which appeared in 90s, and this is how the Tim Berners-Lee, how he created it. And in 1993, the National Center for Supercomputing Applications, NCSA, released a more capable browser, Mosaic. The name was Mosaic, and which popularized the web in many fields. So it allows users to see both the text and images displayed together on screen. The browser was named for its ability to support multiple internet protocols. As I have told you, there are hundreds of protocols which appear when you work on internet. You know, doing anything on the internet is governed by certain rules and regulations, and those rules and regulations, set of rules and regulations, are the protocols. So what happened in the next 2 years, in 1993, NCSA produced another browser in the world, introduced another browser in the world which was more capable, and it was more, it became more popular within the days. And because it not only supported the text, but it used to give it also helped the images to appear on the screen. So earlier we have seen the first browser used to was text based only, and we could see only text. But this browser, which was named Mosaic, and this was the second browser which came into the market, and this browser helped to screen both images and text. And it was also capable in many ways, like it has the ability to support multiple internet protocols. So now the browsers were becoming more compatible, so that they can they can be supported by other internet protocols also. So this was getting popularity. Mosaic was very gaining popularity in the years. And in 1994, with the very next year, Netscape Navigator, based on Mosaic. So this was another web browser which was based on Mosaic, was released, and this became the dominant browser even outside the academic circle, as it was made for the public use also. So people started using it, and internet was started gaining popularity. So we can definitely summarize till now that there were three important inventions. The first one is the hypertext transfer protocol, and HTML, and then the browsers. So internet was already there, and with the advent of all these important inventions, they helped the World Wide Web to come forward and to gain the popularity and the kind of the success it enjoys these days. So the software giant Microsoft Corporation became interested in supporting internet applications on personal computers and developed its own browser. So now it was the turn for the Microsoft company, which is a software giant, and they developed their own browser, which was called Internet Explorer in 1995, and it was introduced as an add-on with Windows, which is an operating system, Windows 95, and it was integrated into Windows operating system in the next year, 1996. So this is how the software giant Microsoft Corporation also became interested in supporting internet applications, so especially on your personal computers, and they developed a web browser called the Internet Explorer. So during the mid-90s, Internet Explorer and Netscape were in close competition to be the best browsers, and Netscape, with an ability to support on-the-fly web page loading, which was incredibly powerful at the time, and over the time Netscape has transformed into a well-known Mozilla Firefox browser. So we have seen a kind of a tough competition in 1995, in the 90s, in the mid of 90s, where Internet Explorer and Netscape had a good competition, had a close competition, but because Netscape had better facilities and an ability to support on-the-fly web pages, web page loading, so it was incredibly more powerful and more accepted by the audience as well. So, but still, there are certain questions which might come to your mind when we say browser. So, what is a browser? So, when you talk about browser, it is an application that brings web pages to your computer. So the web pages are stored in different computer machines across the globe, maybe in different server machines. So web browser is, the job of the web browser is to bring those web pages and to interpret the information written in that document, the web document, and to make it readable and presentable to your screen in the form of your text or graphics. So web browsers like Google Chrome, which is very common, Safari in the case of Apple Macintosh, and then we have Internet Explorer, which is still popular, and Mozilla Firefox is there. So there are so many web browsers all of us use every day. And then, but I also want to add here that not only the World Wide Web became popular, but there were other services which were earlier also before this web came, the World Wide came. There were certain services which were very popular and available before the birth of this World Wide Web on the internet, and but because of certain limitations, it was harder to find and use such services owing to the specialized software required, because as I have told you in my previous sessions also, compatibility was a major issue with computers, because they were not compatible to run programs of one computer into another. So there was, every time you need a specialized software, and you need to learn also. You have to. So only the computer people who were, who were experts in this field could only practice these kind of services. These services were not meant for the general public so far. So before the birth of the web technologies, there were plenty of services available which were later transformed into web also. So we'll also talk about those facilities one by one. So so these were different formats and different protocols, and so one of them was Gopher, and it was to find and retrieve documents and information, and could take minutes or even hours. So this was a kind of a service where you can find or retrieve any document on the internet or any information on the internet, but it takes several hours, or even sometimes it takes minutes also. So it was again a tedious job. And then name or finger was again a kind of directory where there were contact information, contact details of the colleagues or the members who were working, and it shows you, or it helps you to tell that who all are online in the workplace. So this was also kind of a service which was available before the web came. And file transfer protocol, this is very important protocol or service which is still used these days also. So whenever we upload any information or send any video or audio text file on the internet, this protocol appears. So this FTP enabled you to upload and download documents to a server, allowing you to publish information on the internet and collaborate with your colleagues. And this is very much similar to Dropbox. This is a service which is available today also on the web. So Dropbox is a website where you can definitely share your documents, any kind of a document, whether it is text based or video or audio kind of. So but there was no syncing, there was no backup in the early forms of this, and so FTP is now replaced with many services like Dropbox. Like if you want to exchange your video, if you have a heavy video file which takes a lot of space, so if you want to transfer that file to somebody, if you want to send it to somebody, there are certain applications like WeTransfer. So similarly, Dropbox is a service where you can definitely share your documents. So prior to this, FTP was there, and file transfer protocol was there, which had no syncing, no backup, and it was a clunky interface. The interface was also not that much pretty or not that smart. And then email was also there. Email also existed, and colleagues working in that computer organizations used to send their emails to they started sending it in the 60s only, but you could only email anyone in the world, which in the following decades it was not possible to send the emails to everyone, because there were certain limitations of that services also. So and that depended upon your email provider also. So here we come to the end of this topic, and we quickly move on to the next topic, which is the generations of the web. So what we have learned so far is that how World Wide Web evolved, and how Tim Berners-Lee created the web, and he introduced to the general public, and how browsers helped the World Wide Web to grow and to reach the zenith of its success, and also the hypertext transfer protocols and the language HTML, which helped the websites to grow and develop. So while the websites were developing in the initial years and in the initial decades, and till now also, there are certain stages of its development which were considered as the generations of the web, and we are definitely going to discuss those generations. So the communication was consistent with traditional mass media tools to communicate to large audiences. So earlier we have seen, before the advent of the internet or the web or the new media technologies, so the communication was happening through the traditional mass media tools only to a large audiences. So to communicate with large audiences, there was only mass media tools, not these internet were meant for that. It was meant for some specific people only. And in the early 90s, most online content resembled traditional published mass media material, where users accessed contents created by a relatively small number of publishers who had control over the content. So in the initial years of the development of the World Wide Web, we have seen one phenomena, that there were only few people who were the publishers of the content, and they had a major control over the content, and the content which was published in the initial years was actually already published material on the traditional mass media platforms, and it was the web was only for to access that information and that content. And the number of publishers was very small, and they had a control over the content also. So and then in the early 2000, after just a decade, as participatory technology became more readily available and users began interacting with the content. So this is how the technologies gave us an ability to earlier we were just putting the certain people were responsible for putting the content, but now people have started interacting with the content, and users begin interacting with the content, and rather than just consuming the content, they started interacting with it. And today the dominant activity is content creation among users. Let's discuss the different generations of the web. So this is how we have seen the changes in the World Wide Web, from a platform of just putting handful of information, that too was already published one, which was already published in the mass media, and just putting it on the internet for the sake of public to view it, and then to the environment where the users of the media are itself into the production of the content, who are creating the content, who are interacting the content. So this is how the changes were observed in the World Wide Web, and this is how we have categorized the World Wide Web into different generations, into different stages of their development, and into different generations. So the early 1990s, what we used to see in early 90s, when the web just came into being. So the users used the internet to communicate with the large audience, as you see in this diagram. There are three stages in the early 90s, and where the users could only communicate with the large audience. The internet uses internet to communicate, started communicating with the large audience, and then early 2000 was the era when the internet users use the internet to interact with the content, and then what we see today is the audience use the internet to create the content, with many digital applications, many platforms available on the net, and the concept of user generated content and participatory media. So now the people who were earlier the consumers of the content are now producing the content. So this is a timeline which shows the interactive progression and the different generations of the web. And now let's see what are the different generations. The first one is the Web 1.0, the first generation of the web, which was called read-only or the hypertext web, and then Web 2.0, which was the read-write web, or it was also called interactive web, or the social web, or the participatory web, and the third generation of the web, which is called semantic web. So let's talk about all these three generations of the web in more details. So let's start with Web 1.0. So the hypertext, it is also called the hypertext web or the read-only web. So Web 1.0 was coined by Tim Berners-Lee as the read-only web, and it is the first generation of the World Wide Web, and lasted between 1989 and 2005. Internet users were only reading information presented to them, and it was not as dynamic, vivid and interactive as the web we used to see now and these days. So the primary aim of the website was to make information public for anyone and set up an online presence. In other words, the focus was on content delivery rather than interaction and production. And this period was characterized by the fact that content creators could be counted on one hand, and all other internet users were consumers, not the producers of the content. And at this stage in the development of the internet, personal sites, business card sites were popular, consisting of static pages, and these static pages were hosted on the web servers managed by an internet service provider or a free hosting platform. So how these the initial generation of the World Wide Web was different in the way that the web pages were static, they were not interactive, they were not dynamic, so the information was not uploaded on frequent basis. So and the websites used to were more of brochure based website, and there was just a need to just have an online presence. That is why people were just for the sake of public to get the information about a particular event or a particular industry or any institution, people were just putting their creating their online presence on the internet with static kind of or brochure based websites. And at that time there was the users were consumers of the content, not the producer of the content, and the websites were more of business card sites, and interactivity was not there. And this is how the first generation was coined by Tim Berners-Lee as the read only or the hypertext web, which was the initial years, and it lasted between 1989 to 2005. And at this stage of the development of the internet, personal sites were there, and those sites were again static, had static pages, and they were hosted by internet service providers on some web servers or on free hosting platforms. So to this we come to an end of the session, and so far what we have learned is how the World Wide Web came into being and how browsers also started coming. And so far we have learned that how Tim Berners-Lee created a protocol for web pages to connect and hyperlink, and how he developed a coding language for the development of web pages, and also he started with a browser which can interpret web pages. And we were also discussing about the different generations of the World Wide Web. So in the coming session or in the next session, we would continue with the same topic, and we will be discussing about the generations of the web, and also we will be talking about the development of a website. Till then, please keep watching. Stay tuned.